I want to preface you. In this episode, you may get triggered. While we talk about business, personal branding, I today want to talk about money. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Be Brand podcast. I want to preface you. In this episode, you may get triggered. While we talk about business, personal branding, I today want to talk about money because it has shown up so many times in the last couple of weeks with current clients of mine, with friends of mine that are in business, the money topic. This is a little bit of a mix between the energy of money mindset, but also a takeaway of something that changed my life, like literally not just my business, but my life. And I kind of want to give you a heads up because I have a lot of fucking money trauma. Money was a way for my dad to establish his power in our household. I was not poor. I didn't grow up poor. Now, with that being said, we had stuff, we had money, but it wasn't available to me. I didn't go hungry or anything like that, but I grew up with a deep sense of unworthiness when it came to money. So when I started my business, this started showing up big. I didn't realize until then, before I started my business. And when I say I started my business, I'm talking when I quit and I went full time, because my business existed way before I actually, if you heard my story, I ran a photography studio before I even went full time with my business the way it is right now. But I think that the poor money mindset and the unworthiness were already manifesting, but I didn't know it because there was a lot of money coming in and it was a lot easier to make the money that way than it proved to be when I opened my business. We're going to get right into the heart of this conversation. And as you know, I have some notes, but I don't necessarily script my episodes because I believe that God, Spirit, my heart, it's literally showing me what needs to be said about this topic. And I want to tell you a story around it. So I was in a call with one of my really good clients. She has a profitable business. She lost a few clients in the last few months. So we got on a strategy call and we started talking about her numbers, what are her goals. This is somebody who has been in business for almost 30 years. And she's been in the academy now for over 6 months. I asked her, how much is your take-home pay? And she was like, well, and no conversation, you guys, ever goes good when somebody asks you something and your answer is, well. The same happens with, well, who do you serve? Well, or what do you do? Well, that means you have no clarity. Now, I'm by no means criticizing or judging this client because I've been there. So I kind of want to break this down and my thoughts around this situation. So the first thing that I want you to think is this. If you don't know your numbers, you, my friend, are making decisions from your emotions, from your feelings. So let me give you an example. This is another conversation that actually happened in the same week. And these are the things that kind of sparkle this idea for this episode. Amazing friend of mine. She has a 6-figure business. She is amazing at what she does. So we're talking about running ads and I'm asking her some questions about it. And I'm asking her about her budget. And she's telling me, well, we're spending a lot. And I'm like, well, but what is a lot? And she said, well, I don't really know. So red flag, right? So then she starts telling me how she ran this challenge and she had 42 people sign up for this challenge through ads, but nobody showed up. So she's telling me this story. She's telling me how bummed she is and how discouraged she is. So I start asking her all these questions about the ads, how much she's spending, all the things. Number, kind of like, okay, and how many people click on the replay, all these data points so I can give her my feedback. At the same time, she said, well, but this month, same month that this workshop or class that she was hosting happened, last week I signed up a client into my program, and the week before that, we signed up 2 clients into my program. So I'm listening, and I'm an outsider. And this is a thing. It's so much easier to do this when you are an outsider, because when I do this for myself, now a lot of the things that I do is I try to put myself on the outside. I try to detach myself from my business and go from data. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because what I heard on my friend was, I feel shitty about this one thing, but this was my answer to her. And this was exactly the same answer I had with my client a few days later when this conversation arose. You might as well be having the best month in your business and you don't even know it. And she was like, oh. So I kind of want to break a few things for you, and I want to tell you a few stories. I love stories. When I first started my business, I had this deep fear. I didn't know it though. I had this deep fear of opening my bank account. It was this thing where at the time I was still doing my own bookkeeping. I didn't look at my numbers every single week or every single day. Just so you know, I look at my numbers now every single day. Some days I might skip it, but because life gets busy, but the minimum I will do is 3 times a week. Now, the reason for this, I want you to think about this. If you have big goals in your business, big goals, you want to make multiple 6 figures, maybe you want to grow to $1 million. How do you know what is working and what is not working? How do you know when you get to success? Because this is the thing too. Your definition of success, and we talk about this so many times on the podcast, is probably so different than other people. So success is not just a number. This is another thing that happened all in the span of like 2 weeks. I got on a call with a friend of mine. Literally, she has $1 million business. She's burning it to the ground. We started talking, and I was like, okay, but like, you made $1 million last year. And she's like, yeah, but you know what? I haven't paid myself a fucking dime. She's like, I did do a real estate investment thing, but I actually didn't pay myself a dime. I was spending so much on subcontractors, and I was spending so much to like grow. And I was like, oh my God. Because this is the thing, you guys. You as the CEO or the business owner or whatever it is, you have a life, and you probably left your job to have freedom. What kind of freedom is if you're not paying yourself a salary? So now I'm bringing you back to the beginning of my days when I also wasn't checking my numbers. I also didn't know what was coming in. And then one day I sat down with my amazing friend Cassidy, which I don't think she's been on the podcast. I need to bring her here in the podcast. And she has multiple businesses. So this was pre-photography membership. This is when I was just starting out. My business the way it is right now. Now, remember, my business pivoted and changed so many times in the last 15 years, but the business the way it is right now. And we sat down and she started showing me how to break down how much I wanted to make with this product, how much time it was going to take me, if it was worth it, if it was not worth it, if that was like a top of funnel so people would buy something else from me. And I remember I had an epiphany because what I saw on her, it was this woman that at the time, I think she was running 4 different businesses. She had such clarity around her numbers. And she told me about Money Mondays. And she told me how every Monday she sits down, she looks at everything that came in, everything that comes out, all the things. And then she recommended a book, which I'm going to show you right now. And she recommended Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Now, this is the thing. What I learned from this book, and I'm going to give you the very bird's eye view of this book, because I think even if you don't listen to the book, what I'm going to share with you is going to help you. What I realized, it was this woman that had 4 businesses. She was on top of her numbers. So she knew what was worth her time, what was not worth her time, what was bringing her joy, what was not bringing her joy. And at the time in my business, I was still in a place where I was very insecure. I was constantly having anxiety around how much money was coming in. But now, this is the thing though. When I think about it right now, it almost seems an oxymoron. It almost feels so freaking obvious, but it wasn't. So I know that for a lot of you, what I'm going to tell you is like, I don't even know what the fuck is she talking about? Or I don't know, is this me, right? For me, what I think now is I had all these feelings around money. I was feeling them, but I didn't know it. I'm going to repeat that. I had awareness that I was feeling stress about money, but I didn't really pinpoint them at the time. Now, this book, Profit First, changed my life. And I'm going to tell you why. Because until then, I was running my business based on, okay, whatever comes in, I pay all the bills from the business. Whatever is left is mine. Well, guess what? A lot of the times there was nothing left. And this is exactly what literally my two friends share with me in the last few weeks. My clients share with me. When I started reading Profit First, well, actually, when I finished, the first thing that I did, by the way, was I listened to the book. I remember I downloaded it on Audible and I listened to the book. And then I was like, oh my God, this is speaking to my fucking soul. And then I actually bought the book because I wanted to actually do it. And I want you to know this, it was a pain in the ass because I'm going to break down what he describes in the book. But before I do that, I kind of want to touch on a few things, which is it's never about your numbers. It's never about how much money you're making. It's about your money mindset. It's not even just your money mindset. It's the energy that you have around money. So a few minutes ago, I told you, I knew I had all these feelings. I knew I had all these things happening inside of me, either when I didn't want to look at my bank account or when I was scared around money. I'm going to give you an example. When I first left my job in December 2018, my husband and I, we sat down and we slashed our bills in half. We canceled everything in order for me to be able to grow this business without stress. We slashed our bills, you guys. Even though we did that, and my husband, I want you to know this, he has never, one day in his life, ever questioned anything I ever spent money on or anything that I ever wanted to do. We have conversations around it, but like we had to budget. And I felt like a cat inside a freaking jail. And I started to realize that there were these emotions that were happening around conversations about money, about when I had to talk about money in my business that were not rational. And I really started doing the work. But the cool thing about Profit First is that it gave me a roadmap to do something and to really understand my numbers, because I knew in my heart that I wanted to become a true business owner. And my friend Cassidy, who I mentioned earlier, one of the things that she mentioned to me was like, well, you have to think of your business if you were a restaurant. If you're a restaurant, you are not the business. If your business was a restaurant, you would be looking at the numbers, you would be looking at the cost, you would be looking at everything. And I was like, oh. And again, if this sounds like an oxymoron to you, kudos, my friend. But I know that this was not my experience. And this is not the experience of a lot of the women that come into my world, even the women that are making $1 million. So I want to talk a few things about this and a few things that I did. And then I'm going to give you some insight inside of Profit First and how you can get started like right away, even before you start the book. But I recommend 100% that you go and read this book. And the other book that I want you to read, if you're watching in YouTube, I'm going to show it to you, is The Psychology of Money. So these two books change so many perspectives for me, because at the end of the day, your beliefs, I want you to listen very carefully to this. Whatever belief you have about money, it's a point of view. You're looking at the situation from a perspective that you have experienced since the day you were born. So in my experience, even though there was money in my home, my dad made really good money. My grandparents owned real estate and everybody was always talking about money. Guess what? Money wasn't available to me. So I grew up believing money's everywhere. There were, you know how like people say like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, yeah, but in my case, I saw money everywhere. I didn't see the money available to me because my mom and my dad were constantly fighting over it. So I thought money sucks. Like money makes people fight. And I was repeating those patterns. Now, let's bring that back to your business because I want you to understand this. this is not just about money mindset. Knowing your numbers is about also you understanding how much your hour costs. If you know how much you want to pay yourself, then you also know how many clients you need to bring in. Then you also know how many people you need to talk to. It's a numbers game. It is this really good puzzle where you can start looking at your business in a very creative way. I mean, how can I put myself in front of more people? How can I talk to more people? How can I put more offer in front of more people? And this is the thing too. You're going to hear me talk about visibility a ton in the next couple of weeks. We do have a standout masterclass happening July 1st. I'll talk about that in a second. But now you start realizing that you just being in social media, you don't have any control over how many people are watching you, how many people are seeing your content, how many people are seeing your offers. So what happens is it starts giving you this clarity around your business, this data, because you can see where people are coming from. It's not just about how much you're paying yourself. So let me break down what Profit First says or what Profit First proposes and how I do it. So Profit First, basically what they told you is to open several bank accounts. And I might butcher this. I want you to go read the book, but this is how I do it. So if you want to get started or you have any questions, send me a DM on Instagram. I have zero problem walking you through what I do. Now, again, you're a big girl, so you have to use your thought leadership and discerning if this is the right step for you. But this was life-changing for me. Along with Profit First, the other thing that was life-changing for me was creating an offer that is based on recurrent income. So having the Be Brand Academy, in my case, that's my passion. That's where all of my effort goes. I love having women in my world for a year, seeing them grow, all the stuff. For you, this may be cohorts. For you, this may be a membership, whatever it is. But when I made the decision to stick to something and having recurrent income, because then you are not chasing sales and you're not starting at zero every single month. So I would think for yourself, what this could look like. So that was number one. Number two, Profit First basically tells you to open, I believe it's 5 bank accounts. And I'm gonna tell you right now, so we're gonna realize right away. So basically tells you to move any money that comes into your business into one account. I call that account all income. So everything that comes into my business, from photo shoots, from one-on-one clients, from whatever, it ends up in this one bank account with a nickname that is called All Income, where all the money goes there. Well, why does it do it that way? Is because then it tells you to create different allocations for different things in your business. Now, this is how I have it, and I don't want to forget, so I'm probably going to write it down as I'm talking to you. All income, all the money goes in there. So it's almost like a trash can, right? Like a pit. All the money goes in there. Then you're going to allocate a percentage to your compensation. When I first started my business, this used to be 30%. Now it's 35%. You're going to see why. So I want you to follow with me, and then you can always ask me questions on the DM. So you're going to have all income. You're going to have compensation. You're going to have operations, okay? That's how much money comes out of your business. For example, like if you're paying for Kajabi, if you're paying for a podcast hosting site, for your website hosting site, if you have an assistant, if you have a VA, all your subscriptions, whatever it is in your business is going to be under those operations. Then you're going to have taxes. Then you're going to have savings, and then you're going to have profit. Now, I want to warn you this. I am not a tax professional. I'm not an accountant. This has worked for me exactly because of those reasons. Because my emotions were so rough around money that I didn't understand my money. And I don't know you guys, but when even my bookkeeper right now, when they send me the end of the month report from QuickBooks, I don't even know what the fuck she's talking about. But you know why I'm on the green and why I make money and why I pay myself? Because I do it this way. So I kind of want to show you how I do it. Now, once you read the book, you're going to realize that the allocations are different for a lot of people. The allocations can be anything you want them. Those, if you are not reading the book yet, or while you read the book, I want you to do this in a way that you are a big girl and you're making decisions. Now, you may have a few questions around this, which is like, well, how do you know what your operations are? Well, this is what happens though. You have to keep your operations really fucking low until you can see exactly how much is coming in every month. And if you have recurring income, this becomes a lot easier. Until you get to a point that you have recurrent income, you may still be feeling very unsafe. Now, I want you to understand this. Every Monday, I sit down and I do Money Monday. What that means is this. I look at all the money that came in, literally all the money. And I actually do this. I have like a Google Doc and it has been running for a few years now. And I just copy paste. So I know the allocation. I literally copy it and it says all compensation, operations, taxes, profit, saving. Now, what this has allowed me to do is to look at my money and truly know how much money I have. So one thing that I realized when I started doing a lot of this energy work and a lot of this money mindset work is with how unsafe I felt about money. I felt that no matter how much money my business was making, I was in luck. Number one, because I didn't know my numbers. And number two was because of the beliefs that I had growing up, that they were so embedded on me. So anytime something around money came up, or when there was a moment to like look at the money, it wasn't truly me, Ati from today, looking at the money. It was 8-year-old Ati, 7-year-old Ati, 12-year-old Ati that was driving the bus. So we actually hosted a masterclass in January of 2023 called the 300K Masterclass. And it was all about the energy around money and how to make more money from a place of your energy. I'm going to like put it in the comments because this was like a 90-minute masterclass. It was gold, you guys. And like, if you want to go get that, like you're going to fucking love it. Because it's going to open your eyes in so many ways of like, how are you actually feeling when you're doing the things you're doing? Okay, let's go back to profit first. So every Monday, I do Money Mondays. Now, the book recommends doing this on the 10th and the 25th of each month. For me, I like doing it every week. I don't know. I just got in the habit of it. And now I do it every Monday. And I have ritualized it. And sometimes I don't have the time, but like when I do, I bring my mate. And sometimes I light a candle and I put music and I truly ground around money. And I get in a place of gratitude and I look at my bank account and I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think of my clients and I think of myself and I think of the things that I have been able to do. And I also think of like each single one of those dollars actually means I'm helping somebody. So there is so many ways and I can help you with this, but like we do this a lot inside of the academy, but like I don't want to go into that right now. But I want you to really understand that when you don't know your numbers, again, you may be feeling broke, you may be feeling in lack, you may be feeling like a failure, and you may not be. So I want you to really understand that so you can start doing this. Now, the hardest part of this process was to actually find a bank that was actually going to let me carry all these accounts without fees. Because when you start at the end of the year, when you start like doing your numbers, you don't want to be paying fees for all of these accounts. In my case, in my state, I live in Las Vegas. This was US Bank. I'm not affiliated with US Bank in any way. I'm just sharing my story with you. But this was the hardest part because I had to go and I had to change then my debit card on my credit card or whatever I was paying people with, where like, you know, in my CRM, how people were paying me. So that took about a month to get all that settled down. But the moment I did, then I committed to looking at my numbers every single Monday. So all I do, I go into my Google Doc, I put the total that shows up in all, right? The all income account. You can call it whatever it is. You can call it the bucket of luck, and you're going to put all income. And let's say, just for the sake of like easy numbers, there is $10,000 in there on Monday. You are going to transfer based on your business. Now, I want to give you again, at the beginning, when I was making less money, I also still had things I needed to pay, right? So I was putting 40% towards operations and 30% towards my compensation. I do 35 and 35 now because my operations stay kind of the same, but my money has grown. So my allocation is this. So if you're curious, I do 35% for compensation, 35% for operations, 15% for taxes. Again, consult with your tax professional. I do 15% of the top, so of the entire income, okay? Then I do 5% for profit, and then I do 10% for savings. Now, this is not personal savings. These are savings on my business accounts. And this is in the case, I don't know, something happens, clients default, I get sick, I don't want to fucking work, I want to go on a trip, whatever it is. So the 10% that goes into savings, I transfer out into a high yield savings account because the money's going to sit there. I haven't touched it ever. So why not? Then every Monday, you're going to take the money, you're going to transfer. And then from there, you are going to pay your operations, yourself, whatever it is. Now, if you're just starting out and you want to reinvest all of your money into your business, I get it. But pay yourself something, even if it's 10%, even if it's 20%, because you are running a business, my friend. And not only because you need it for bookkeeping and for tax season, and you're a fucking business, long term, if you don't do this, you're going to burn out and you're going to want to burn your fucking business to the floor, just like my $1 million business friend is doing right now, because she's been building this business for like 5 years and she fucking hated it. It got so big. And you know what she told me? She's like, I always wanted a business that had a huge impact. I didn't want a big business with employees and all of this. And I actually can relate to that. We run a very lean business with ABA in the Philippines and my assistant here in Las Vegas and myself, a small but mighty team. So this is so important. And again, this is all inside of Profit First. I want you to go and read it. And I want you to understand this. If you don't know your numbers, you might as well be run by all of your emotions around your money. Because this happened even to me recently in the last, I don't know, like month. Even though you're doing a lot of money mindset work, a lot of energy work, it's almost like there is this force, right? Like your subconscious that as you are reprogramming it, doing all of this work, it's like it wants to go back to its roots. It wants to go back to what it knew before. And when you have the fact, when you have the numbers, when you have the real understanding of what's happening, you can come back and you can say, is what I'm feeling true? Is what I'm experiencing actually true? Because every single one of us has a filter, and that is the filter of our past or our lived experiences. This is actually everything that we talk about on the 300K Blueprint Masterclass. Nobody in my family, anybody I knew, made 300K in their life. I knew a lot of people outside of my circle that made that kind of money, but nobody in my blog, not even my husband, like I didn't know anybody. So I was the first person to break. Well, I knew my grandparents did, but I left Argentina when I was really young. My grandpa died. I never really experienced that because there was so much lack and scarcity around how they dealt with money. My grandma was a Holocaust survivor, so there was a lot of lack. When my grandma passed, they actually found money in a bag behind a mirror, and she was always penny pinching, and she had all this money saved. The second book that I want to recommend, I'm not going to go super into it, but I want you to get the gist of it, which is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Now, why this book was so cool to me is because it started talking about how everything we do about money has very less to do with what we know and all to do about how we behave in a lot of areas of our life. And it shed so much light for me into how I was behaving, even though I'm very financially educated. Now, I want you to think of the micro moments of your day when it comes to this. The micro moments when you are not looking at your account, when you're talking to a client and you're attached to the sale and you have it in your stomach, right? When you're coming, like maybe somebody's payment defaults and you feel like your fucking business is all falling apart. But in reality, it's not. Business is peaks and valleys and sales and returns. And I want you to think of this example, and I'm going to close with this. If you've ever been to the Cheesecake Factory, I think that it's a restaurant. It's all over the U.S. I mean, I think now it's a restaurant. It's all over the U.S. At the end of your dinner or your meal, the server will come around with this huge tray with all the desserts and offering you coffee and desserts. And some people will say yes, some people will say no, some people will be, I don't know, I was a server for many years, so like there'll be a pain in the ass and they want to send their food back, whatever it is. But this server is not attached to thinking, oh, I'm a bad server or I'm a bad person, or nobody likes me because they didn't sell a dessert. It's just like yes or no, whatever. Like some people will say yes, some people will say no, and that's the end of the deal. Well, that's the same in your business. Now, one more thing that I want you to think about this is this. This is going to help you so much understand how to price your services. Because I remember, by the way, when people come into the academy, I have them do this exercise and people are like, oh, but I thought this was personal branding. I'm like, yeah, but we talk about building a profitable personal brand. And in order for you to build that profitable personal brand, guess what? You need to know your fucking numbers. So I remember this client who is a bookkeeper. She came to me and she was charging, some of her packages were $150. So we started breaking this down. So $150, right? So a month, like she was charging for these like very small clients with, I don't know how many transactions, whatever. And I was like, okay, so let's actually do the profit first exercise. Out of $150, you're going to pay yourself 30%. So out of those $150, 45 would be for her. 40% would be to pay for her software, to pay for whatever, for her computer payment, whatever it is operations that she has. 15% was going to go to taxes. And this is a big one, you guys. If you're not putting money away for taxes, I'm sorry, you need to start doing this right away. Because that is probably creating an underlying uncertainty that you cannot even handle. And you don't even realize that you're going through that, right? So we go through this exercise and she was like, oh. So you always tell people, like, if you had to pay, if you just sold and you paid a few employees to actually get the work done, and this is on any service that you offer, it doesn't matter. Would you be able to pay them? Probably not. But you are willing to take that pay thinking that, oh, I'm growing the business. And I want you to ask a few things to yourself here. I'm going to give you 5 questions that are the first ones that are coming to mind around your relationship with money. Number 1, what do you believe about money? What do you believe about money? Last night, we were watching a show and my kid was like, well, it's all these rich people that they are like nasty. And I was like, am I nasty? And he looked at me and I was like, we have I'm not going to share here, but like we have a considerable net worth. I consider myself rich. We have real estate. We have several businesses. Do you think I'm nasty? He was like, no. And I was like, exactly. Where did you hear that? He was like, well, in school, I don't know, in TV, in YouTube. And I was like, you have to be so careful with what do you believe. Now, he's an 11-year-old. You're an adult. So you probably, whatever it is that you believe around money, what do you believe? I want you to write it down. I want you to take an hour and believe every single thing you believe about money. If money was a person, would she want to come hang out with you? How are you treating your money? So for example, if you don't want to look at your bank account and you thought money is a person, this is a kind of like texting your best friend. You never want to see her with money want to come to you. Money is energy, you guys. Money is exchange of your energy, your belief. This is all acting that you can control because it's being controlled by your subconscious. 95% of all our actions are actually controlled by your subconscious, things that you're not aware of. So when you start creating awareness around those thoughts, you can start recognizing them in your behavior. This is why I said, look at the micro moments of your day when you're catching yourself doing these things. You didn't look at your bank account for a week. Go do it. The third question that I want you to ask yourself is how much you want to get paid? Because people have this random number in their head that comes from the internet. It's like, oh, I want to get 10K a month. That's great. And you're charging $150 or $200 or whatever it is. How many clients that's going to take? How many conversations are you going to have? Can you create recurrent income to get there? So every month you're starting already at 4 or 5K, and now you only have to sell 5. Maybe you can get 10K on residual income and the rest is extra, whatever that is. Now you can start looking at your business in a creative way. Another question that I want you to ask yourself is, what is the very first memory you have about money? What is the very first memory you have about money? This was so hard for me to actually find on my mind. I couldn't find it because I didn't see it as related to money, but it was. I highly recommend you that you go read Profit First, that you start doing all these things. Now, we like the 300K masterclass, I think it's $33. I'm gonna put it here. We run this masterclass, and then we run a high income course that we run for 2 weeks in January that changed the way people were looking at money. Because the thing is, as long as you believe money is bad in any way, let me ask you this. Do you want to be bad? I don't want to be bad. So in our subconscious, a lot of the times we're self-sabotaging all of these things because our program is telling us, well, if you make money, you're bad. If you make money, you're nasty. If you make money, your family won't like you. If you make money, you're a bad person. Whatever it is the belief that you have, I want you to get truly in touch with this, because this is truly what is in the way between you having a profitable personal brand. There is more things around it, but this is the base of everything. So this went a little bit longer than I wanted, but this was such a topic that I wanted to talk about. Again, go read Profit First. If you have any questions about this, please send me a DM on Instagram. We are hosting a visibility masterclass. It's actually called a standout masterclass on July 1st. This is $33. This is the thing. If you don't have a visibility strategy, again, right? This is kind of like the money thing. How are people finding you? How are you putting yourself in front of more eyes? Not just the, 500 people, 1,000 people, whatever it is that you have in your Instagram. And I want to show you how to do this without having to rely on social media. So I'm dropping all of the links here at the bottom, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts about this episode. I hope that this resonates with you in so many ways. I encourage you to go know your numbers, read Profit First, whatever you have to do, and I'll see you next episode. Mwah. Bye.